Ladies and gentlemen, I've got no excuses this time. This was all on me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what can clearly only be described as the Circus Safety Videocast, where Andy, my mate in the bottom, Des, my mate to the right, and myself, try to take you on a journey through the world of workplace safety, clearly with a little bit of laughter, unprofessionalism, incompetence, and downright humour. So, welcome. Des, mate, how are you today?
Going good, mate. I've had a roller coaster of a week, but I'm good and ready to go for the show.
Nice. Well, clearly, mate, what I really value about you, Des, is you're just this rock, mate. I know you're weak. I know what's happened, and look at you. You've turned up. Your computer's not even on mute, mate. You're like, hang on. What's going on, Andy?
Yeah.
Oh no! Come on. Are you for real? What?
Well,
hang on. So this is. You wonder why the band nearly broke up. You wonder why. Like, look at this. So we've got followers on our Facebook page, on our LinkedIn page, actually. We don't do Facebook, but people on our LinkedIn page posting photos of mugs. And you two clearly have a Circus of Safety mug. All I've got is my my keeper cup. What's going on? Like, Andy, I thought we're friends.
We are.
So it's not what you know then in this game. It's clearly who you know, right? And obviously I don't know the right people.
Well, no, there's one in the post.
Just like the check, right? Yeah, I keep getting told I'm getting paid for this show, but I ain't seen that happen yet either. Although I just want to take this opportunity to thank Sign On Site. That's who's powering me today. Look at the quality of my camera, and apart from my incompetence about muting, I think I sound dashing. So again, a big thank you to the team at Sign On Site for powering me through the show, because clearly I need all the help I can get. Hey, listen, Andy, how have you been this week, mate? Apart from clearly gloating with your fantastic Circus Safety mugs.
It's been a good week. It's interesting that you talked about the band nearly split up a few weeks ago, and until the mug incident recently, a few minutes ago, I generally thought that this week we were being closer than ever, because we all tried to help and rally round Des when he was in dire straits. And I just sort of felt the love, and it was lovely.
Did we really rally around Des, or did we just really want to be nosy?
We called him.
We tried to call him. We did. And it was a beautiful three-way harmony, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know if Des appreciated it much. We're not giving him an opportunity to say otherwise. So we'll just keep moving. So Des can't tell us that he didn't appreciate the love and araha that went out to him this week. Although, listen, actually, we just
how's your week been, Brenton?
Mate, my week's been amazing. I was just saying to Des, I'm busy as a beaver. Although I've never, beaver's always busy, I guess, which is a fascinating thing. Well, I wonder if busy as a bee is more of an appropriate terminology, but that's how I live my life. That's how I roll, and I'm in my happy place. So, living the dream. Thank you, Andy. Thank you for asking. Hey, just before we crack into this week's show, I just want to reflect on episode 10, because this is obviously episode 11. And I thought we'd hit the bottom, right? I thought we couldn't take the show any further. And I was just looking back through some of the show notes. And although she did get a mug as part of this, Sarah Tizard, I mean, who would have thought, right? We went from the dizzying heights of talking about safety, high professionalism, to talking about Dr. Seuss. And what, I mean, the topic, look, honestly, I was trying to, we're trying to engage in this professional show, and here we're off discussing the qualifications of Dr. Seuss. I mean, how's anyone supposed to take this show seriously when we talk about things like that? I don't know. So hopefully this week we can kind of lift our game a little bit and talk about something professional. But as always, before we do that, Des, I need to ask you to please just make sure we're covered, mate.
Sure. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been looking into disclaiming differently a bit more.
Nice.
And last week I came across a disclaiming theory that's new to me. And it's the theory that a lot of liability in disclaiming comes from a person's behavior rather than the disclaimer itself. And it's
Wow.
behavioral-based disclaiming. Try it out today. So instead of a normal disclaimer at the beginning of the show, I'm going to spend the duration of the show observing the disclaiming behaviors of us, the hosts.
Wow. Okay. Oh, wow.
Our things I'll be looking for are comments of a general nature and avoiding behavior that might cause someone to rely on our dialogue instead of seeking specialist advice, and also
Okay.
disclaiming behavior generally. And I'll be able to provide feedback on areas of improvement and also intervene if I see poor disclaiming behaviors.
You're gonna hang on, whoa. You mean you're gonna jump in and tell us what to do?
Yes, absolutely. It's behavior-based disclaiming.
Okay. Well, so I'm just Des, I'm just kind of sorting out my show notes here, mate, because I know I may come across as disorganized, chaotic, not having a clue. And I mean, looking at my show notes would suggest, oh no, you can't see that. There's actually nothing on them. So I'm going to make a note, the very first note on my show notes, to check back in with you later to see how we did. Is that a fair call?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything else from you, Des, before we carry on the show?
That's all from me. I'm keen to see what we get on the wheel this week. I've got a few topics that I want to talk about.
Oh, do you want to share? What topic are you looking forward to?
I really want to talk about passion and safety.
Wow, love it.
Yeah.
Andy, anything particular for you, mate?
Yeah, risk and hazards.
There, safe old Andy, right? Safe old Andy. Yeah, listen, I can't believe that I'm saying this. I'm actually looking forward to. Hopefully, it's about are good intentions enough? I guess the way my week's gone, I'm really interested to chat about that. So, without further ado, let's bring up the wheel. Are we ready for this, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. Oh, wow. Wow. Clearly, some people are just tinny ass, right? Let's. I guess we've just got to shed some light on this psychological safety. This was one that legitimately Andy asked us to put on the wheel this morning, and it's landed. So I guess listen. Without further ado, really, Andy. I mean, listen. What are your thoughts, mate? One word, your initial excitement, I guess, or shock with that landing up on the wheel. Psychological safety. I mean, am I even saying it right? I think that's my first question.
Yeah. I think you're saying it right. I was keen to put it up on the wheel because it's not. I don't think it's particularly well understood of what it actually is. And I think when I mentioned it on the wheel, the response from you guys was, "Haven't we sort of touched on that already with the well-being wellness one?" But it's actually something quite different. It's related to that field, but it is actually quite different. So
Okay,
what I
well,
think would be quite cool would be push it back to you guys and say, what do you think it is?
Mate, who's hosting the show? Just because listen, mate, I'm just going to be the guy asking the questions because I actually have no idea what you're talking about. So let's jump over to Des. Des, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, listen, let's be fair. I think we all agree Andy's a bit tinny on this. You know, it always seems to land in his court. What are your thoughts on psychological safety?
Not a lot, actually. I could not give you a textbook definition of what it is, and I've got a sense of what it might be about, and it might be completely misguided. But an example might be where you have a points reward system for doing safety related things, and if you don't get enough points, you get some sort of retraining. If you get enough points, you get some sort of reward, and so that carrot and stick approach might be considered like a psychological safety initiative, and I think that's well and truly been sort of debunked as a particular thing, but maybe that's an example of psychological safety. I'm not sure. Keen to know what Andy thinks.
Okay, well that's cool. Well, yeah, that's great. I'm glad somebody has at least having a guess, because I don't even know where to start on this. To be fair, again, just kind of clearly showing who the intelligent, intellectual beings of this show are. So psychological safety. I mean, yeah, for me, like I said, I got to be honest. I think that was one of my comments, Andy, earlier on. Is haven't we sort of already haven't we touched this? And I guess this goes back to hashtag the Circus of Safety Dictionary, right? Do we need some clarity around what these things actually mean? Because otherwise we end up getting wrapped up in all this terminology, don't we? And we end up using terms interchangeably, and it happens to the best of us. But Alison, just before we jump on and carry on, you've been challenged to please define the word special. I'm not sure if you want to have a crack at that. Mark Gummer has suggested it would be great to hear that if you were willing to share.
Yeah, I was trying to pick the context, and it might be from the disclaimer about people seeking specialist advice. But
let's go with that.
Yeah. So, how do I define special in that context?
So would you consider
be a subject matter expert?
Would you consider what is happening right here, right now, specialist advice?
No, and that would be an example of a poor disclaiming behaviour.
Oh, awkward.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, maybe Mark can put some more definition around his definition, I guess, would be the way to go. But let's jump into it. Back to you, Andy. So this was your topic, mate. You wanted this on the board. So can you help us understand a little bit more about where you're coming from and what this is all about?
Yeah, so it's a tag name for a field that you're probably all familiar with. We all call it something else. But it's basically psychological safety is this belief that people won't be punished or humiliated for sharing ideas, questions, concerns. It's all to do with that sort of tied in with safe learning space that you'll probably be familiar with, Brenton, that you create when you deliver training. And it's tied in with
create when I deliver training,
culture and other things like that.
Cool. Yeah, so a good example of poor psychological safety would be this show, right? I feel belittled. You two have got mugs, I've got nothing. Would that be a good example of poor psychological safety?
It would be. But then again, you have made the point that you want a mug, and you took that psychological risk there to put it out there that you felt left out. So it's that sort of behaviour. It's understanding that we need people to be engaged in safety, whatever that is. And the only way that we'll get the truth is if people feel comfortable to report stuff. So it does link to other aspects of safety, but it's not really safety in the classic sense, if that makes sense to people.
I don't know, Des, does that make sense to you? And does that provide any kind of greater clarity on where Andy is kind of going with this topic?
No, it's making me, when you talk about making it safe to speak up and challenge things, it reminds me of safety climate. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Safety climate.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Like I'm looking outside and the weather's looking pretty good. So there's let's kind of, mate, remember, think about when you're delivering these high level glorious pieces of advice. Could you just remind yourself you're dealing with the lowest common denominator here, and just kind of, what are we talking about in terms of safety? I mean, this safety climate, is it another catchphrase, another piece of jargon, another thing? Because I mean, I'm looking outside. It's slightly overcast, mild wind, but moderately good temperature. What are you talking about when you talk about safety climate?
It's the environment in which the safety culture exists. That's my understanding of it, but I'm happy to put my hand up and say that by no means an authoritative source on that. I really don't know, and I would defer to Andy on that one.
Andy, I mean,
you see, this is beautiful because this is a great example of it. Like I took the brave step of saying, let's put psychological safety on the wheel.
Can't even say it.
Yeah. Based upon this conversation, I'm unlikely to suggest anything for the wheel ever again. because I don't feel psychologically safe to do that.
I tend to agree with you.
This is a beautiful.
I tend to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that my screen's set up now is I'm at the bottom and you two are above me looking down at me. And that's quite intimidating, you know? So that's what psychological safety is where we don't have that sort of connection. Yeah, it's this idea where you see, that's better now. But it's an important part of safety, but it's not. I don't think it's safety itself, and it links to everything else. So the interesting thing about psychological safety is that it wasn't developed from the safety perspective. It came from organizational learning. So, but it's because it's got the word safety in there, people think it's actually about safety, but it's not about safety.
Listen, thank goodness. I just want to say a massive shout out to Deepak. I think, to be fair, he's going to potentially save the show here. He's put a lot of time, effort into this, and I'm just going to read you what he's put there in it.
That's straight from Wikipedia.
To be fair, it's better than any of us have done, so let's run with it.
Okay. So psychological safety is the belief that one will not be punished for or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. In teams, it refers to the team members believing that they can take risks without being shamed by the other team members. The psychological safe teams, team members feel accepted and respected. It is also the most stupid enabling condition in a group dynamics and team. Studied, stupid, my bad. Most studied enabling condition in a group dynamics and teams learning research. Psychological safety benefits organizations and teams in many different ways. There are multiple empirically supported consequences of team psychological safety. Most of the research on the effects of psychological safety has focused on benefits, but there are some drawbacks that have been studied. Deepak, thank you. And yes, great to see he has acknowledged it's Wikipedia. I mean, what do you think about that, Andy? Does that kind of help sort of, that wraps it up a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, that's absolutely it. But what I found interesting about it is that it really does link with the whole new approach to safety. With the safety
what
differently,
new approach?
That sort of stuff, differently type, that whole field, because that's what that is. That's about engaging with the workers, letting them understand what the hazards and risks are and allowing them to manage them within a certain framework. The whole learning teams thing, again, adds huge value, but that's all about that. It's about creating an environment where people are open to speak about what the problems and challenges are. So I just think it was an important thing to put on the wheel, because people don't actually know what it is, but they talk about it quite a lot, and it comes up quite a lot in conversations that I'm having. And that assumption that it's to do with well-being, but it is linked to well-being, right? Because if you don't feel comfortable to speak up, then that leads to frustration. Frustration leads to anger. Anger leads to hatred, and hatred's the path to the dark side.
Wow. Kumbaya. Des and I were having a chat offline before we went live, and I think what's causing the confusion for me, based listening to what you're saying, Andy, and reading through what Deepak's put up there in the chat, I think it's the way it's been terminalized, the terminology used to describe it. Because so I guess it's what I'm getting confused as is what you're talking about is creating an environment of a safe space, right? An environment where people feel included. And what's throwing me is the way we've called it psychological safety. I think that's what's confusing me. And that was a little bit like the term we spoke about. There's around values needing to be a verb, right? So if you use the wrong way to describe something, is that what's causing the carnage? And I think I'm just getting caught up in that. I can't seem to get my head around it being an entire field on its own, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's absolutely not, because it's entirely dependent on the organizational structure and the relationships within that.
So could we argue that psychological safety could also be referred to as organizational safety?
In your world, it's creating that safe space to speak up without fear of attribution, and you do that really well in your training sessions.
Yeah,
Unless
thank you.
the only time you don't do it well in your training sessions is when you've someone like me in there
who sets me up to fail. Not that I hold grudges, but again, I guess I want to. So this is where it gets a bit difficult, right? So back in the day, I call myself a professional mountain biker, professional rock climber, because I got paid to take people mountain biking and rock climbing. Right? I mean, that was pretty cool. And then clearly, I don't know what went wrong. I ended up in safety, right? I mean, jeepers, how I suppose when you're at the top, there's only one way to go, right? And that's to the bottom of the pit. But like a lot of what we did in that space with the guys that I worked with and whatnot is and with my mates, when you're out mountain biking or you're out, rock climbing or whatever, you're almost you're egging each other on by ribbing each other up and giving each other a bit of a hard time. But oh mate, you can't hit that jump, or what's wrong today? You didn't have your wheat bix or whatever the case might be. But I guess it gets a bit confusing in that space, right? Because that created because of the uniqueness of our environment and the closeness of our team. We kind of rubbed each other up quite a bit, which then ended up pushing us to jump bigger jumps, to to surf bigger waves, to go off bigger waterfalls, so I guess I'm getting my. Is that a bad thing? I guess I don't know. Is that what's causing my confusion? Is as someone else in the fire service, you become so tight knit with a crew of 4 people. You give each other grief, right? You rib each other up. I mean, look at us. Look at the banter we're causing, right? But I guess that's where it gets a bit confusing for me, a bit too touchy-feely, to be fair.
But on the flip side, you do create amazing environments in when you're facilitating, which is safe for your people, isn't it?
You're making me blush. Des, I mean, what are your thoughts, mate? You've been pretty quiet on this.
I'm actually keen to know what impact this has in the context of just culture and no blame, because that's something that's kind of been front of my mind for a long time is the just culture systems and no blame systems and what that means. And I'm keen to know how this can apply to that.
I think they're all interlinked, but this is what's interesting about this is that safety, as I think I've mentioned in the past, I don't think safety it's not a subject in itself. It's not a pure subject. It's the application of knowledge and resources of different fields. And to me, reading about psychological safety, it draws heavily from organisational learning, from just culture. It's all those sorts of things, but it's just being badged something differently. I think Brenton made the really valid point is I was only really drawn to it because of the word safety. and that sort of drew me into it. When the reality is it's more to do with organisational learning. It's more to do with the root causes of accidents than it is to do with stopping bad stuff happening at the operational level, if that makes sense. So it's not about controlling hazards. This is about people not reporting stuff. This is about people saying, this never works. This is about people saying, I'm constantly getting electric, but I don't want to report it. It's all that sort of stuff. Yes.
Does it also include me feeling comfortable to call people out for being an idiot? Like if somebody's not clearly gone outside of the boundaries of what was discussed, clearly for whatever reason disregarded any conversations that have been had in a group, does that include me having the comfort and the ability to call that person out and say, mate, listen, you actually didn't play your part. You didn't step up. You didn't do what we agreed. Is that part of that as well?
Yeah, and
because I'm getting a little bit tired.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is why I found the whole field particularly interesting, is because you want people to report stuff, but that doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all, because you've got to hold people to account. And there's a tendency with this logical safety is you err too much side on, we don't want to harm the feelings. Yet the reality is that people actually want boundaries. Even though people say, no, I'm a free spirit, they don't. People want boundaries.
Well, I think that's more than want. It's a need, isn't it? We need boundaries. Otherwise we'd have bloody Lord of the Flies going on, wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and people want boundaries, but they also want certainty. And as we've spoken in the past, if you go back to risk, the definition of risk is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. The more uncertainty, the more risk. So you want this psychological safety. You want people to feel comfortable, but there's got to be a framework that they feel comfortable within. And I think that's where people might miss it. And it's not a free for all. It's not everyone's opinion everyone's opinion really matters, but only within this certain framework.
Does it really? Does everyone's opinion really matter? I mean, mate, next time I'm going to see you pulling out bloody daisy headrests and stuff. You know what I mean? But does it actually really matter? Does everyone's opinion actually really matter?
It does to them.
But in the greater scheme of things, I mean, if we had everybody's opinion and everybody getting involved, do we really think we'd be progressing? Sometimes people just need to kind of, and I guess I'm getting a little bit controversial here because this is possibly the way my week's gone. But do some people just need to get them behind and just do as they're told and just go with the fact that maybe they don't actually know it and their opinion in some situations doesn't matter?
Oh, I think the opinion matters to the individual. So if you value their opinion, now whether you act on it or not, it's a different thing. But whether you value it and give them opportunity to speak about it, that's essential in creating a positive safety culture, safety climate, or whatever. But it's having the ability to air your views as opposed to hold them inside is what allows organizations to learn, which is what psychological safety is really about.
Okay, we're gonna
come on, let's go. Come on, bring it on.
No, but I just go back to my
the next 5 minutes depend whether you get a mug or not.
I just go back to my time. I don't want one of your mugs. You can keep it, mate. Give it out to.
If you keep going like this, you're getting a mug.
No, but there's I guess, and this is where maybe I guess we're getting too bloody fancy with stuff. But back, I'm just reflecting back on my time in the outdoor industry, right? I often took people down a canyon trip, for example. There was this beautiful little trip we took them down, and 9 out of 10 times it would go beautifully, right? It'd be awesome. We'd be stopping on the riverbank. We'd be having picnics. We'd be kind of swimming in the river. And I'd be saying to people, hey, what do you think? What do you want to do? What are you up to? There were the odd occasion where stuff would go sideways, right? And the weather would turn on us while we're in there. People would start getting cold. You could see the signs of hypothermia kicking in. And mate, at that point, I didn't actually care what they thought. And their opinion didn't matter. And my job was to get them out of there and to get them out of there as quickly and as effectively as I could. And I wasn't asking them what their opinion was. I actually didn't. It didn't matter to me. I was watching signs and symptoms. You could see signs and symptoms because these were inexperienced people in an inexperienced environment that was foreign to them. That probably never experienced hypothermia before. They probably never understood what it does to your mental state. And so I wasn't going to start asking their opinion. I was just like, we're doing this, whether you agree or not. Let's go. And we'll do it. So I just get worried that and I don't know if I've gone off tangent here, but that's where this worries me a little bit. Everybody's opinion matters. Well, I don't actually know if it does at all times.
Oh, I think it always does to the individuals whose opinion it is. And therefore, you've got to take that into account because that's how you meet the need. That's how you meet the needs of your group. That's how you create dynamic and add value to people. People want to feel valued.
It's a case of mind over matter. I don't mind, and you don't matter.
But that's where I'm going though, Des. I mean, yes, I get that their opinion matters to them, right? But at the end of the day, there was an expectation that I was going to provide a safe experience, and so at some point, their opinion went out the window about how we're going to do that. And it was about my training, my experience, my skill set that got them out of that river. And for 18 years, I got everybody home safe, right? So
were they psychologically safe, though? That's what I would throw back that at you.
Yeah,
they might have come out physically safe, but were they psychologically damaged?
At that point, when people are getting hypothermic, when things have gone sideways, you can't have it all. You can't have your cake and eat it at the same time, mate. If you're on Mount Ruapehu and you get caught out in a storm, your first priority is get you off that mountain, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can't have one with that. You can't have everything. Unfortunately, life's not. People would like to think life is like that, but you can't. Anyway, I digress. Hey, listen, I just want to jump in.
Yeah, go.
Because it's not all about us, Andy. our mate Keith Harvey, long-time listener, avid friend of the show. Thanks, Keith. Des, he's jumped on and he's referencing Queensland WorkSafe around safety climate. And he's saying safety climate is the perceived value placed on safety in an organisation at a particular point in time. These perceptions and beliefs can be influenced by the attitudes, values, opinions, and actions of other workers in the organisation and can change with time and circumstance. I guess just like the weather in Auckland, right?
Yeah, look, that's getting definitions that are way above my head. But I'm really curious because you guys made a few comments in that last little spiel, which I disagree with, and one of yours, Brent, was that we have to hold people to account. I question the value in doing that. For instance, if you hold someone to account for a particular incident for their actions, you haven't prevented the next person from doing exactly the same thing.
I would argue that's you don't do things in isolation, right? So you could hold somebody to account and still look at why. I mean, if somebody deliberately went out of the way and did something that was not agreed, so if somebody is involved in planning and developing and creating a plan, right, and then they deliberately go out of their way to not follow that plan they were involved with, surely they've got to be held to account, right? Like, how much more time, effort, and energy do you need to put into kind of collaboration for then somebody to deliberately go out and do something totally different? I mean,
do you ever ask why they did that thing, or why did we put someone who was willing to deliberately not do the right thing into that role where they could do that?
Well, I did ask that person that, and they just said, well, because that's what they wanted to do. And I think my worry is that this is the attitude of individuals, because no one's being held to account. No one is taking responsibility for their actions. And therefore they can do what they want because nobody cares. Nobody's going to say anything about it. And I think we're walking on a knife edge here around putting it all back on the organisation and not actually saying to people, you know what, you do have a part to play in this and you need to take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah,
we can't all be holding hands singing Kumbaya.
But we'll be talking about another topic that's on the wheel.
We would. So that's a great issue. So anyway, so let's sing back to you, Des. I mean, your thoughts. Does psychological safety have a place in Safetyville?
Well,
and if so, where do you think it sits?
Based on that definition that we had earlier, I think so. I think an organisation is not going to be able to improve, get better, become safer unless people have the ability to feel safe to speak up. I don't think it's a complicated thing to do. You just have to not be a dick. When people speak up, just listen. You don't even have to do anything. You just listen.
Does not being a dick constitute advice? Do we not? Is that not a behavioural?
Maybe that's a good point. Maybe I need to stop myself and have a observational intervention.
I think you probably should.
Okay, no, fair call, Des. Fair call, Andy. I mean, your thoughts. I mean, you're obviously quite passionate about the topic. This is your topic on the board. Do you feel it's got a place in Safetyville? And if so, what is that place?
I think absolutely it's essential, but it murkies the water because of the terminology that's being used. And I think we end up with all of these different terms that sort of are captured in other places. And I think trying to get everything together, which goes back to this idea of the safety of dictionary and thesaurus that we're developing, that will resolve all these issues. In fact, if we do a good job of that, we won't have a show. Because we'll just today's show, spin the wheel. Okay, page 17. Off you go, read it through.
We're going
We're going for breakfast.
Terminology. No, awesome.
It is, but I think we all live and breathe this, right? Because we always go on about we need reporting, we need the information. And the only way that people will report stuff is if they feel safe to report it. And if they don't feel comfortable reporting it, they don't. And if we don't know what's going on, we'll start fixing the wrong things. So it is, in my mind, it's absolutely an essential part of it. It's just called the wrong thing.
Cool. Awesome. Well,
what about you? What are you? Go on, rant a bit more. Rant a bit more, Brenton.
Oh, did I annoy Des? Did I?
I think so. I think it was really annoying.
Wow.
Obviously not a safe place for Des.
Wow.
We can say what we
Yeah.
like. The lawyer's not here.
Hey, so now he's accused. I'm getting text messages of being accused of kicking him off the show. This has turned to chaos, mate. This band is. I don't know how we've survived 11 shows, but listen. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself. I think it's got a place in safety vault. I do. I tend to agree with you, Andy. I think we're getting caught up in a misunderstanding around what that is. And for me, it is very important. Can you maybe just message Des and let him know we're still live?
Yeah, he's just sent me an expletive.
Should we start reading that out? So my worry is we're going too far to the one on the one angle where we're so worried about not hurting people's feelings. And I get that, and I am, but I think it's taken us too far to the left or right or whatever angle it is. I don't want us to see a place where people like myself don't feel safe or secure to call people out when, mate, that people do stupid things. I'm not going to lie about that. There are some absolute muppets out there. And I don't want to see us create a place where people can't be called out, where people are too worried about saying what is, calling stuff out. And we need to be able to call stuff out, and we need to create a safe place in order for people to do that. It can be done respectfully, and it can be done, with respect to the individual. And I'm not saying we go out there and belittle people, but my worry is as soon as somebody goes in and says something about, calls somebody out on something, they're like, oh, you're hurting my feelings. Really? Suck it up, buttercup. And actually take responsibility for your actions. And I guess my worry is that we're going too far the other way, right? Where we're all more worried about the individual receiving the feedback, or the individual getting it and the individual actually delivering. But that's kind of my thoughts.
I think that's a really good example, and it sort of reflects society to a degree. I think what's interesting in the safety context, though, is that you're almost balancing there the psychological harm versus the physical harm. If you if you hurt somebody's feelings, then they lose their arm. It's the magnitude is completely different. So yeah, but I mean, Des hard. He's just a bit off the pace, isn't he? Oh, hey, Des.
Well, he's had a tough week this week, mate. So let's leave it there. So hey, while Des tries to sort himself out, Andy, I mean, so I guess. I know you've probably touched on a little bit, but do you see any sort of pros to psychological safety?
Yeah, I think you've got to do it. I think I wouldn't call it psychological safety in organisations. I think it's just another term and jargon that is just not helpful. It's just let's try and minimise the amount of different terms we use in our field.
And let's just get on and do it, eh? Hey, Des, welcome back, mate.
Thank you. I noticed I've been relegated to the bottom of the screen, so due punishment. I think that's just culture in action right there.
Yeah, mate. Yep.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. My computer just disintegrated.
Wow.
But maybe it was overcooked, or the poor disclaiming behaviours just overcooked the system, and here we are.
Hey, so Des, mate, hopefully, I know you probably missed part of the conversation, but I mean, your thoughts, do you see any pros to psychological safety and Safetyville?
Yeah, totally. I think if you're going to genuinely learn from practices and safety incidents, you need to have a psychologically safe place for people to talk about it.
Great. I mean,
and not fear retribution, not fear outcomes that would be unfair.
That's beautifully articulated. I mean, what are your thoughts? So, do you see any traps to psychological safety, Des? I mean, if we, with this term bantering around.
Yes, people might feel like if their input is not valued, they might not want to speak up. So maybe there needs to be a decent feedback loop. And I think New Zealand in general does that pretty well. The whole consultation process. New Zealanders are very strong in that, and I think that's a good way of making a safe place for people to speak up.
Cool. Awesome. Andy, what about you, mate? Any traps in psychological safety that you see?
Yeah, I think the biggest trap I've indicated is around the term itself. I think the actual content of it, the principles behind it is good, but I just don't think the words psychological safety are that helpful. A bit misleading.
Yep. No, fair enough. That's a good call. Yeah, I think I've made my views on this. The trap's pretty clear. I'm just my worry is we're going too far to one direction, and a psychological safe place needs to be safe for both parties, right? The person receiving the feedback or whatever, but also the person delivering, without feeling threatened that they're going to have an HR complaint or something. So maybe, in fact, what I should probably actually do is call out to see if there's any HR lawyers that would be prepared to defend me in a court before I start kind of rabbiting on a little bit too much more. So if anyone out there is prepared to defend me and my big mouth, listen, again, clearly I'll do anything for free stuff.
I'll stop you there, Brent. There's a behavioural-based disclaiming intervention underway.
Oh, you're kidding me. Damn it. Hey, Des, I'm just going to ask before we kind of start wrapping up the show, have you been keeping score?
Yeah, in fact, it's disappointing all round. The disclaiming liability performance at this group is pretty disappointing.
Wow. That is...
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. That's all we get.
Hey, Andy, we need to create a psychologically safe space, mate.
I need a number. You can't just say that. Give me a number.
Okay.
7.
Awesome.
Anyway.
7.
Hey, I'm going to leave Andy to last on this next part of the show. But Des, any thoughts, mate, wrapping up this topic, psychological safety?
Yeah, I think I'm glad we talked about it, actually, because there's a lot to unpack there, and it affects a lot of other areas: investigations, training, just culture, things like that. It's a topic that could go anywhere.
Yeah, cool. No, well said, Des. My thoughts exactly. I think what I've probably taken away from this is it reinforces even more so, and I think this is one of our traps in safety, right? Somebody will get this buzzword, say psychological safety, right, and we'll go racing off down this path and put a whole bunch of time, effort, and energy into that. Then the next thing will come up, right? I don't know, training, and we'll go racing off down there, and we tend to put things in boxes, right? But I think if anything, today's topic has really highlighted for me how everything is intertwined, right? It's quite a difficult field. When I say field, I mean the field of safety, to put things in boxes, right? Because there's so many connections. Everything is so interlinked. So that's been a big highlight for me, this show for sure. Andy, I mean, again, this was your topic of choice. Do you want to wrap us up with your thoughts on the conversation today and where you're currently sitting versus where you maybe were sitting at the start of the show?
No, I think you've the pair of you've seen the light. Clearly, you felt comfortable to express your views. It's never really been a problem with you, Brenton, and I've known you for a number of years. I think you'd feel psychologically safe anywhere. It's just whether those around you would. But I think for me, I wanted to put it on there 'cause it was doing a bit of research in this field recently. It was just something that I'd never really considered about the origins of it. And the fact that its origins are in organisational learning, but it's been captured as safety, just skews it a little bit, I think. And maybe it's a bit of a marketing thing, I don't know.
No, fair enough. I'm scrambling here because you just reminded me of something, and I'm just going to read you a lyric from what I've got to say is probably ultimately my all-time favorite band of all time. And some of you may know this band. It's the I don't know what's happened to them. It's a little bit, but anyway, the Bloodhound Gang. Is anyone you guys are familiar with the Bloodhound Gang? Fire, Water, Burn.
Yeah.
Well,
they're like the Beatles,
mate. They're like the Beatles, but they're better. Anyway, and they got a song called "Shut Up," and I just want to read you the chorus. And this really is sort of, I guess, I don't know, maybe sums up my approach to life. And I don't give a damn if you don't like me because I don't like you because you're not like me. And I don't give a damn if you don't like me because I don't like you because you're not like me. So there we go.
Wow.
I feel psychologically safe after saying that.
Might be an appropriate time to bring up a milestone that we just reached, Brenton.
What do you mean?
Andy?
What are you talking about? What milestone?
You've just your word count has now cracked 100,000 in a single show. So well done.
Woo! Hang on. I'm so confused. I'm super excited that I've cracked a milestone and I've broken a record. But are you telling me you're keeping count of how many words I use in one show?
Yeah, I suspect that's why my computer crashed a moment ago.
Wow.
I'm just both very happy for you.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you. Well, since we've broken milestones, again, I do appreciate it. Maybe I can get a mug now for breaking that record. Just want to take the time to reach out and shout out to one of our new followers, actually, guys. A big shout out. I've been watching our stats, and it's really fascinating to look at the follower stats. I don't know. I'm sure you've been looking at those in the background too, team. But we've really got Perth. Hey, our viewers in Perth are really driving up the numbers. So a big shout out, firstly, to Perth. You are coming in from behind and you're driving up our numbers there. So big thanks. Again, listen, the three of us would love to come to Perth and do a show live in Perth. So let's see if we can try and make that happen in 2024. That'll be awesome. But just want to shout out to, and again, I hope I get this right. I do apologize if I get this wrong. Jason Borokskvi. I hope I got that right. Jason is a human resources manager and a health and safety advisor. So a big shout out to Jason. He is based out of Motueka in Tasman in little old Aotearoa. So big shout out to you, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to the Circus of Safety. It's been nothing but a pleasure. So, boys, Andy, anything exciting in the next 2 weeks for you, buddy?
Oh, heaps of exciting stuff. Developing some really cool online training modules at the moment. Fantastic. Having a lot of fun doing that. Really good.
Des, what do you got coming up in the next 2 weeks, mate?
Business as usual, but a shout out to Kate Lyon for posting about her Circus of Safety mug. Did you see that, Brenton? That she had that? Did you catch that LinkedIn post? I don't know.
Yes, and of course, Sarah Tizard's got a mug as well. I met up with her last Friday. Had a lovely cup of coffee. She's really appreciated.
Good for her. That's great. That's good. Really pleased to hear that.
So I am looking forward to getting my mug shortly because I know what's happening. I don't know if you guys are getting this because I don't know if you're very as approachable as I am. But getting a lot of messages in the background, a lot of feedback through the LinkedIn channels and the phone calls. A lot of people are asking about how they get their mug. So just want to let the people know out there in the big wide world of the Circus of Safety, we're finally actually taking this to another level of professionalism. We've actually got a show planning meeting coming up. So as part of that, we will be working out firstly how I'm getting a mug. So hopefully I can get one at that planning meeting. And secondly, how the rest of you out there in the wide world of the internet can as well. Now, on that note, and I might be jumping the gun here, boys, but I'm pretty sure we discussed this at some point. Following this planning meeting, part of the planning meeting is we're going to be, and feel free to start, sending out expressions of interest now. The Circus of Safety is expanding. We are going bigger, we're going better, and in order to bring the next level of professionalism, we are going to be looking for our first employee. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is not a paid gig. You will be expected to work incredibly hard, long hours. You got tyrants.
It's not psychologically safe.
It is not psychologically safe. I mean, the pressures of maintaining this show, guys, is just phenomenal, right? So you're going to have those pressures on you, but we will be reaching out. We're going to be looking to engage an intern in 2024. So if you have got any expressions of interest of being an intern, we're probably not going to have a job description. There probably won't be a contract. You will be expected to do everything, and you will be reprimanded should you fail to do so. So, yeah, please feel free, reach out, let us know how we're going. But before we wrap up the show, I've only now got one thing on my show notes, and that is Des. Do you need to say anything in terms of wrapping up this, this behaving safety disclaimer?
Well, I don't have any particular feedback specifically. I think generally we've got a lot of work to do in the disclaiming space. Disclaiming behaviours were disappointing all round, even from me. So we've got a lot of work to do in that space, I think.
Can we have a number?
7.
Cool.
Wow.
I'm happy with 7.
Great to see you taking it on the chin, mate. Listen, can't wait to catch up again soon, team. Look forward to the feedback and the comments on today's show. It will be on Spotify later on today, first thing tomorrow morning, and look forward to sharing those show notes with you as well. Don't forget, jump on our Patreon account, support the show, help us buy some coffees. That'll be great. And if you want the team to deliver a conference experience like none other, feel free to reach out to me because I'll actually get stuff done. Catch you later. Be safe and see you next time.
See ya.
See you guys.
Andy, look up. Yeah, there we go. Okay.